All right, so here is a video about some ideas I think that could benefit your app and make it a lot easier and more efficient for an agent to use, because at the end of the day, the only purpose of this app is to book appointments or manage appointments. We don't need anything else other than that. I think if you offer us a streamlined solution that has bare bones functionality, that doesn't try to do too much, but it does what it needs to do well, we will be happy. You will have no issues. So that being said, one of the biggest complaints that I have is that the UX to get back and to start a new action is really clunky and cumbersome, and it takes way too many clicks. So for example, let's say that I am booking an appointment for a property. And I don't really think this locations thing up here, I never use this. I don't know who does. What is this even for? Because this is confusing. Why does this show up here and why does this show up here? It really just needs to be the listings here. Like, this doesn't make any sense. If you click on this and it shows a map, what is that going to do for me? This isn't a Google Maps app, right? I don't need to know where it's located. I need to make an appointment on the property so I can go show the property, right? I don't need to figure out where it is on the map. If I needed that, I would go to Google Maps or Apple Maps, whatever. So request showing, and I'm just gonna make a showing under my own listing so you see that page. So go through, earliest time slot, next, checkbox, next, showings booked. So at this page right now, this banner is completely unnecessary and it gets in the way of the functionality because now it blocks the back button and now it does that. So whenever I'm trying to book multiple appointments at a time, that thing constantly pops up and it gets in the way and I have to wait for it to disappear or click out of it to disappear. It's 1 or 2 extra steps that doesn't need to happen, that just slows down the entire workflow. That being said, on this screen right here, this map does nothing. Like this is just one additional thing to load and to take up data and to render. And this doesn't, I don't need this. If I wanted this, I would go to Apple Maps and I'd open it up. I think a get directions button here that is here would be much simpler of an idea, and it doesn't take up resources on your already slow app, and it doesn't block all of this right here, because whenever I'm doing this and I'm doing it in a hurry, it's really hard sometimes to hit this back button because this back button is on an interactive map, right? So if you accidentally click it, but you don't click it correctly, you open up the map and it takes up a bunch of time. So you have to perfectly press that and then it brings you back to the screen. What really needed to be there was a persistent search bar so that as soon as I'm done requesting an appointment, that screen shows up. And if I'm done with that action and I want to start another action, like book another property, because a lot of times you're not booking one property at a time, you're booking multiple, right? So I can easily hit the search button and then start a new query. But with the way that it's set up right now, I would have to back out and then do it, from this menu. So that's the biggest thing. If I had a persistent search bar up there, it would make my workflow a lot better without stuff or banners or notifications that gets in the way of that persistent search bar. So that's number one. Number two, I really think that this right here, this listings pane needs to be on its own tab, right? So you really need to have maybe a buyer's tab and a listings or sellers tab or whatever. But tell me why you think this is necessary, where I click into here on the dashboard and then it loads my listing, right? It loads my listing. And then from here, I really have all of this information, which I don't really need. This could all have been condensed down to, a very brief overview. Like, there's really no reason to have this. To have this useless map that doesn't do anything and just have this take up a lot of space. And the only reason why I would click on my listing really is to edit my showing configuration. So to go into there and to go into showing configuration and then go into here, and then you see how annoying this is? And then you go into here, and then of course this is where you set up how your showings work, right? So to reiterate that step and to show you, to illustrate why I think this needs to be improved, to get to showing configurations, the quickest way is one click, and you gotta wait because this button won't work until you wait for it to load. 2 clicks, 3 clicks, and then showing configuration. So then now let's say that, I change it to something, right? Then I hit save. And then now I'm officially done with that action, and it takes me back to here. And then I have to hit back to get to my search bar again to do my next function, whatever that may be. Really, the optimal way to do this was to have a showing configuration button here, or a book a showing for this listing here, or a view appointments for this listing button here, or something on this pane, on this panel, where it only takes one action, one press of the button to get you to that action. Because this page right here is completely useless. I don't need to know quick facts about my listings. I know this already. I'm not using this app to figure out details about a property characteristics, right? If I do, I would open up Redfin, Zillow, or whatever that's more suitable for this type of work. The only function I need from BrokerBay is to book appointments and to manage appointments. I don't need you to do anything else for me, like I've said. So that being said, really, I think this listings thing could be on its own tab, like over here. Like this entire thing could just be a listings only tab, where you would have, those cards like you had it before, and then those cards would be up here, and then you would have the schedule down here, right? So like, you would have, like this would stay the same, but just relocate those cards from the home tab over to the listings/showings tab, right? So it would just sit up here, and then all of this would be the same down here. So that's one thing. And then number 2, and this is why this was just a terrible UX choice in my opinion. You have a scroll menu here, right? And then you have a scroll menu here within a scroll menu. So there's a scroll menu within a scroll menu. And what that means is sometimes you're trying to scroll and it doesn't, obviously the system doesn't know which menu you're trying to scroll, and it makes for a very disjointed feeling. And it's not intuitive, and you have to kind of like hold it, and then it'll register that you're trying to scroll on the sub menu and not on the the outer menu. Again, this could easily be fixed by making buyer showings its own tab, and then listings its own tab, and then just making this one giant scroll instead of a scroll within a scroll. And then the same thing for down here, this task pane doesn't really need to exist. All this information right here, if you had a dedicated buyers tab, would be, an action button, or I'm sorry, so this is a showings request, but any kind of tasks that you would have for your buyers would just be a submit or a sub option within that scroll. I don't know if that made any sense or not. And then of course over here on your listings, it would look like this for the showing appointment I just made. So yeah, task right here makes sense. I don't understand why you also need tasks right here. Okay. And then other than that, I think one more suggestion that really annoys me sometimes is, let's say that I've completed the showing. See how annoying that is? Ugh. And then all this information I don't really need. I only need this information right here. I need this information, and I need the listing agent, right? Because a lot of times I want to contact them because we have a question or whatever. But sometimes I don't want to call them. I just want to text them. Can you add a message agent button here? That would be quite useful because sometimes you don't really want to call them. And then another thing is maybe you can add a option to reschedule appointment or rebook another appointment, because sometimes my clients want to come back and they want to see another appointment. Something right here, bam, click it, I can schedule another appointment. Now I know that you can do that by clicking on this button right here, but it's not intuitive to do that. It took me a little bit of fumbling around to figure out that that actually leads you here. And then once you get here, you got to go and you got to book showings again. So that's 2 actions that can be condensed down to 1 by just adding, book another appointment or book a second showing type of option right here. And all this real estate is made possible by just getting rid of this map, right? This is wasted real estate that could be used for actionable items. And then other than that, honestly, if you just try not to do so much with this app and just make it very good at what it's supposed to do, a bare bones version of what it's supposed to do, and I would be so happy, and it would make my job so much easier, and I would be so much happier. But because it's trying to be too flashy and it's trying to do too much and it's showing me stuff that I don't need to see, I think in the end it ultimately fails at helping agents succeed and yada yada. Anyways, so just didn't want to give you guys a video without giving some positive constructive feedback and suggestions. So here we are. But also I just want to clarify that I am on the latest version of iOS. I'm on an iPhone 14 Pro, and I am also on the latest version of your app, which is, I believe, build 1.72 BrokerBay. So I just want to verify that with you real quick. Yes, version 1.72.0. All right, thank you very much. Bye-bye.